Welcome to the Living the Dream podcast with Curveball. If you believe, you can achieve. Welcome to the Living the Dream with Curveball podcast, a show where I interview guests that teach, motivate, and inspire. Today, I am joined by Tina Coleman. She is the bold voice behind the book 50 Fabulous and Fuckable, which is a guide that redefines what it means to be a woman at midlife. Tina's mission is to empower women approaching 50 and beyond to embrace reinvention, freedom, and unapologetic confidence to step into the most vibrant and authentic time of their life. Tina was also a massage therapist for 2 decades, but that career got cut short, and I'll let her discuss why. So, Tina, thank you for joining me.
Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Why don't you start off by telling everybody a little bit about yourself?
Okay, let's see how far back we want to go. I am originally from Des Moines, Iowa, and I left Iowa in my late 20s to become a spiritual teacher. And I traveled around the states teaching with a not-for-profit group where I taught and directed different schools. And that is when I had my first car accident. As soon as I left Iowa, I went to Columbia, Missouri, and I was in a car accident within a month where I was rear-ended by a semi on the interstate. And that introduced me to healing, specifically chiropractic massage and acupuncture as forms of therapy. And that's what kind of kickstarted my massage career. And then jumping forward to Dallas, Texas, my career was ended by an 89-year-old lady who rear-ended me at a stoplight. So, and that was a week before I went on my first international trip. So it's been quite the ride.
Yeah, and speaking of international, you are abroad right now, and we discussed that in the green room. So talk to the listeners about that.
I am currently in a small town called San Pedro Cholula, which is near Puebla, which is a major city in Mexico. It's also about 2 hours south of Mexico City. I have been living internationally since 2021. I originally started coming down to Mexico for dental work, and I just kind of fell in love with it. And during the pandemic, I was like, I'm moving to Mexico. And it was one of the things I put the absolute least amount of thought into. And so if you hear any loud noises, it's not gunshots, it is fireworks because they like to celebrate all the saints here. They have over 300 churches and altars here. And this was a main center to train holy men way back in the day. They also used to have life sacrifices here as well.
All right, absolutely. So, you know, talk about this book. You're the bold voice behind it. Why did you decide to write it, and what can listeners expect when they read it?
Well, it's really interesting because I did not intend to write a book on being 50. I was absolutely terrified of being 50. I was at 46 or 47, and the idea came to me. And I believe it was divinely inspired because the idea for the book came to me, the title of the book came to me. It was completely out of my control. Um, and I remember, like, I was like, oh, can I say that? Am I allowed to say that? And who am I to write a book on being 50? I've never been 50 before. So it was really interesting progression. And there have been times I'm like, oh, I don't know if I can do this. But now that I'm in my 50s, I'm like, oh, yeah, I can do this. And it's kind of like an inspirational guide to being in your 50s, being like, yes, this is the best time of your life. Your life really starts at 50. And it takes women through self love, self acceptance, appreciating who they are, what they've been through, what their bodies look like. Because I have gray hair. My hair went gray prematurely, just like most women in my family, but mine's all gray. And so it's really interesting because that was not something I ever planned or anticipated or wanted. I thought I would be dyeing my hair till I'm 90. And I really embraced it. And so I want women to come away from reading the book to be inspired to know that there's always hope. You've been through a lot of shit by now, and this is going to be the real turning point and inspiration for a lot of women. I also talk about pre-planning and wills and estates and things like that. Some of the information I knew from being a life insurance agent and funeral salesperson, but some of it I had to Google. And then I wrap it up with self-care. So moving your body, yoga, different types of movements you can do, as well as, just caring for yourself. Because women that are in menopause, I talk about that also, we need more self-care. Our bodies are rapidly changing, and I call it adult puberty. That's what I like to call it. And so you just have to care for yourself more. And as women, it gives us that time to do that and permission to do that because we don't typically do that a lot. We care for everybody else, and then we're at the bottom of the list. So I like to encourage and inspire women to take care of themselves and, to really appreciate where they are and to know that this can be the absolute best time of your life.
Well, that was my next question. Why do you feel like midlife can be the most powerful, vibrant time of a woman's life?
Because we've already made all the mistakes. We've been through the bad relationships, financial mishaps, children, college, changing careers. Like we've been through all that. We've been through so much in our lives, as have men as well. And then our bodies are changing on top of it. So it's really the time to reinvent yourself, to claim who you are and who you want to be, and to dig out those old desires and things that maybe you didn't get a chance to do earlier in life and be like, hell yeah, I can do this now.
Well, talk about the biggest myths about women turning 50 that you hear that you are determined to break.
The biggest one is if you have gray hair, you're not sexy anymore. And I'm like, that is so not true. Because I really believe it doesn't matter what color your hair is. And if your hair is gray, then you have the opportunity for it to be whatever color you want. My hair has been pink, purple, blue. And now I just really love having it natural because I don't have to do much to it. So that's like the big one. Because when men go gray, oh my gosh. Oh, they're sexy, silver fox, they're distinguished. But when women go gray, we're just called old. And I'm like, that is so not true. And it doesn't have to be true. So that's like a big one. The other one is that, when you're in menopause, that your body is changing, but that it's a time that it makes us like old hags, or we're not sexy anymore. We're dried up, used up, over the hill. And I'm just like, that's bullshit. When you're in menopause, it's the time of your life where your body has decided it's no longer going to give energy to physically reproduce children. And so that frees up your creative energy to em- empower you to do other things that maybe you have pushed to the side, or to reinvent and recreate yourself in new ways. Women take up dance or get back into their dance careers at this age. I'm writing a book. Other women, open businesses, like Martha Stewart and Julia Childs, they started late. And so it's really a time when, now that your body's not focusing on reproducing, you can use that energy in other ways. And, considering we wake up at 3 a.m. and can't get back to sleep some nights, we have a lot of time.
Let's take a quick break.
Okay, everybody, it's Michael E. Cullen II.
And I'm Sesame and Carta from the All Too Real 2 podcast. We're passionate about movies, TV, and pretty much all things pop culture.
Dive into the chaos of failed sitcoms, direct-to-video sequels, and the quirky realms of cinema and TV.
Join us every Thursday for your dose of All Too Real 2 entertainment.
We'll guide you through debates like whether Howard the Duck qualifies as a superhero.
Ponder if Larry the Cable Guy could be the new Rock or Schwarzenegger.
Discover if some shows and movies should have stayed in the cutting room.
Ever heard of a sitcom featuring that dictator with the funny mustache? Well, we watched it.
We're dedicated to unraveling the peculiarities of pop culture, sometimes with awesome guests.
So, if you're into the eccentric world of pop culture,
listen and subscribe to All Too Real 2.
Available wherever you find podcasts
and on Age of Radio.
Where your body might not be focused on reproducing, but how does that, affect women, sexually, if they have a partner?
it's really a time when they can go deeper with their relationship rather than being like, oh, I can't have sex anymore. You get to really connect energetically and to maybe take things a little bit slower, maybe experiment a little bit more, have some toys, have a little bit more fun, I think. And we are a little more selective now about who we want to be with. Whereas when we were younger, might not have been as selective. It might just be flings, and now we're looking for deeper connections.
Okay, well, give women some best practice tips on how they can balance self health or self worth and energy and different things like that.
Giving yourself some time and space because we tend to go, go, go and do and try to be everything and do everything for everyone. So one of the things I really love doing and I kind of preach is journaling. Journaling is a great way to kind of get out all the random thoughts that we have. And Julia Cameron talks about it in her book, The Artist's Way. And it's an old book, it's an oldie but goodie. And so doing like a stream of consciousness writing either right after you wake up in the morning or right before you go to bed. Either one is really great because it's a complete brain dump and you're getting out all these thoughts and fears and things that are just kind of, rambling around in your head. And that gives you time to kind of release and get recentered. Also, meditation and breath work is really important because one of the things you can also experience with menopause is anxiety or depression. And so doing breath work, like different types of yogic breath work, and also there's a box breath work that the Navy SEALs do before they go into situations. It's inhaling to the count of 4, holding to the count of 4, exhaling to the count of 4, and holding again to the count of 4. So it's kind of like a box. So you're breathing 4, 4, 4. And that really helps to calm the nervous system and to recenter you, which I love. And then I also love EFT, which is also tapping, and yoga nidras. EFT is called Emotional Freedom Technique. It's been around, I believe, since the early 70s, and you're actually tapping and touching different acupressure points in the body and releasing negative thoughts and statements for the first 3 rounds and then reaffirming with positive statements on the final 3 rounds. And you can just tap anywhere, which is really great because I'm a very nervous traveler, even though I travel a lot. So I do tapping a lot, especially when I travel. And then yoga nidras, a lot of people don't know about this, but it is called the yogic sleep. And there's a lot of different apps out there. You can also just Google it on YouTube. But it gives you, it's about a 20 to 30 minutes practice where you're laying down and you want to be comfy and cozy, like put a pillow under your legs, put on some blankets. You can do it midday or, as you're going to sleep. And it's a guided visualization to recharge all the different parts of the body. And it gives you the equivalent of 6 to 8 hours of sleep in a very short amount of time. It's also great for anxiety, depression, PTSD, and they have used it on war veterans. So it's an amazing technique that's very simple, and it gives us the permission to lay down during the middle of the day. Now, rather than having that cup of coffee, you can literally do a yoga nidra to get recharged and rebooted, which is absolutely amazing. And I can keep going. Like I love self-care and self-care tips. So I can talk about this forever.
Well, let's
But
talk about
uh-huh.
success. How do you define success now versus when you were in your 30s and 40s?
I describe success as freedom. I have a lot of freedom in my life. I'm very fortunate that I have created my life in such a way that I do. Because it doesn't matter how much money you have if you don't have freedom, if you're constantly working and grinding yourself into the ground, then that's not really much of a life. Or if you don't have your health, that is also very important. Whereas, in our 30s, we want to be with a person. A lot of times, especially as women, we kind of dictate our value as to whether or not we have a partner, who we're with, why are we single, that's a big thing. If you're a single woman, it's like, oh, what's wrong with you? Oh, don't worry, you're going to find somebody. And our 30s are all about that. our 40s, you want, you're also wanting to create stability, security. Do you have a house? Do you have your retirement set up? Things like that. Are you doing all the things you're supposed to be doing? And in your 50s, I'm just like, fuck it, do what you want to do what makes you happy, and dig out those desires that maybe you've forgotten about and focus on those because life is short. And when you're 50, you know, we may have more years behind us than ahead, and things can change very, very quickly. I have lost a lot of family members in an instant with no notice, no warning. And so that really helped me to reevaluate my life and what I wanted to do with my life. And so, really appreciating the gift that we have of being alive and wanting to do the things that really make us lit up and enjoy life and embrace it, rather than just doing the things we think we're supposed to be doing or other people want us to do.
Well, what is the one action that you will want listeners to take after they hear your story?
To write down all the things that they still want to do in life, that they haven't given themselves permission to do it, and focus on one or two of those. It doesn't matter if you think you can do it or not. It doesn't matter if you think it's absolutely impossible. Like I thought it was very impossible for me to go to Europe. Like when I was 45, it was my first international trip, and ironically, it happened um, a week after my car accident that ended my career. And I'd already planned everything. And so I wasn't sure I was going to be able to go. And that trip changed my entire life. And it was because I'd found a journal from my 20s being like, I want to go to Italy. I want to go to Greece. I want to go to Egypt. Those were my big three. And I was like, I don't know if I'll ever be able to go to Italy again. So I went for 3 weeks. But I have since been to Italy 3 times. And I was able to go last year for a month and a half in Italy and a month in Spain. So whether or not you think you can do it, it doesn't matter. We limit ourselves so much by saying, oh, well, I really want to do this, but I can't. And so rather than shutting down those desires, leave it open. Be like, hey, I really want to go to Italy. I would love to go to Italy in the fall, or whatever it is you want to do. And give yourself that room and that space to dream about it, to explore it, to think about it, to talk to other people about it rather than just shutting it down. Give yourself time to dream. As kids, we used to dream all the time, and we let our imaginations run wild. But as adults, we tend to shut it down, and that really cuts off a lot of our opportunities. Because if you're not open to it, you're not going to see what's right in front of you.
Well, what mental shifts should Gen X women who feel exhausted, hormonal overlooked, take to feel reinvented and thriving again?
Taking out time for yourself is really the big one. It really is. Taking time to go for a walk, be in nature, take a bubble bath, actually sit down at a table and enjoy your food. I actually lost 90 pounds with Ayurvedic medicine, which is from India. It's about 5,000 years old. And one of the things I really had to break myself from, which was a habit, was eating in my car. I would literally be going to yoga class to go see a client. I am literally eating while I was driving. And I had to force myself to go and sit outside and just eat instead of trying to drive and, preparing myself to see a client. So giving yourself just a little bit more space and time to really enjoy your food, and put it on nice dishes, like make it a ceremony. Treat yourself like a fucking queen. Like, because if you don't start treating yourself well, nobody else is going to. And as women, we wonder why we attract bad relationships when we don't even treat ourselves well.
Well, let's talk about any upcoming projects that you're working on that listeners need to be aware of, and also tell us where we can get that book.
Okay, great. Well, obviously, the book, it is on pre-sale for Amazon right now, so you can go there and find it. It is 50 Fabulous and Fuckable. I also have a hub where I'm offering different courses. One is the Fabulously You course, and that's where I take women through an 8-week journey with all the tips, tricks, and life hacks that I have used to create the life that I have. And that is going to be launching in January. You can find it at beacons.ai/transform be courageous. And my really, really big project that I have that I'm using the book to open the gateway to is my dream is to create co-living spaces around the world for women to travel to be able to create community, to work into or to release into divine femininity, to just relax, and also to teach and coach each other so we can actually inspire each other and lift each other up and create new skills. So that is something that I am actively working on, that I would love to be in, manifestation in the next year or two. Because I think it would be just amazing experience to have all these women that are in midlife supporting each other, encouraging each other, and really lifting each other up. Because that's really what life is about. So those are my big things that I'm working on. And there will probably be a memoir coming out next year as well on my life. So yeah, a lot of different things going on.
Well, the website that you gave out, is that the website so people can keep up with everything you're up to?
Yes, the beacons.ai/transform be courageous. And I'm also on Instagram and TikTok at transform be courageous. Yeah, so, and then I will have my other website up and running here soon. I've been doing all the technology myself, and I am not a techie person. So.
Completely understood.
Right?
What
It's like,
closest?
yeah, like with being Gen X, I remember when phones were attached to the wall, and now there are personal computers. So it's so amazing how much life has changed and how much it will continue to change.
Absolutely. We'll close us out with some final thoughts. Maybe if that was something I forgot to talk about that you would like to touch on, or any final thoughts you have for the listeners.
The one thing is that there's always hope. No matter what you've been through in your life, no matter what traumas, abuse, addiction, no matter what it is you've been through, there's always hope. I have been through so much in my life. And what has really kind of kept me going and recentered myself was connecting with a higher source. So whether you think of that as God, the universe, your higher self, whatever that is, knowing that you're not alone, that there is hope, and that no matter what you've been through, you can come out on the other side stronger, braver, better. It's not over. And you can always have the life that you want. I firmly believe that, no matter what it looks like right now, because I think a lot of people have had a really hard year this year. I mean, 2025 has been brutal for so many of us. And now it's time to reinvent yourself and to know that, you can do whatever you want. We told kids that all the time. Like when you're a kid, it's like, oh, well, what do you want to be when you grow up? So start asking yourself that question, because 50 is just the beginning. You get to have a lot of fun and joy and create the life that you're madly passionate about rather than being like, oh, it's over. So I'm a firm believer in that. And I think that women can do so much good in the world. And that when we really rise and we rise together, we can create a force for good.
Absolutely. So, ladies and gentlemen, please be sure to go check out that book. If you have any women approaching midlife and beyond, follow, rate, review, share this episode to as many people as possible. For more information on the Living the Dream with Curveball podcast, visit www.curveball337.com. Thank you for listening and supporting the show. And Tina, thank you for all that you're doing, and thank you for joining me.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It was such a joy. I really appreciate it.
For more information on the Living the Dream with Curveball podcast, visit www.curveball337.com. Until next time, keep living the dream.